Welcome to Tirumala Vaibhavam YouTube channel. Today we will dive into another spiritual story. Do subscribe and like the video for more such deep spiritual content.
Welcome back. Today, we're going on a journey, not to a place, but to a single, extraordinary moment in time. Picture this, a battlefield in ancient India, where the entire flow of history is just held in suspense. And it's right here, in the middle of all the noise and chaos of war, that a quiet, profound, and deeply personal conversation begins. A conversation that reveals what Lord Krishna himself calls the Raja Guhya, the most royal, the most confidential of all secrets. This is our exploration of Chapter 9 of the Bhagavad Gita. So let's dive right in. This supreme knowledge, it wasn't revealed in the silence of a temple or on some remote, peaceful mountaintop. No, it was spoken on a war chariot, right in the middle of two gigantic armies, both ready to completely annihilate each other. The person hearing this is Arjuna, the greatest warrior of his time. But in this moment, he's just a man, completely broken by a crisis of conscience. His despair is so total, it literally brings the world to a standstill, and that creates the sacred space for this knowledge to finally be revealed. So here's the scene, the epic battlefield of Kurukshetra, the stage for the massive war of the Mahabharata. The war horns have already sounded. The armies are lined up, ready to go. But just as the first arrow is about to fly, Arjuna, the key warrior for the Pandava army, is hit by a wave of grief so powerful that his legendary bow, the Gandiva, just slips right out of his hands. See, he isn't afraid of dying. He's terrified of winning. Now you have to understand, this war wasn't some rash decision. It was the tragic, unavoidable end of a whole lifetime of injustice. It all started with this bitter rivalry between two sets of cousins, the 5 Pandava brothers, who were basically the embodiment of virtue, of dharma, and their 100 Kaurava cousins, who were just driven by pure envy and greed. It all came to a head in this royal game of dice, a formal challenge that the Pandavas, because of their code of honor, couldn't refuse. But the whole thing was a setup. The dice were loaded, the Pandavas lost everything, their kingdom, their money, their freedom, and in a final, horrifying moment of humiliation, their shared wife, Draupadi, was dragged into the court to be publicly stripped. They had to endure 13 long years of exile, and they fulfilled every single condition of that rigged defeat. When they finally returned, they didn't even ask for their full kingdom back. They just asked for 5 small villages, a simple, humble plea for peace. And the Kauravas' response? They said they wouldn't give them enough land to stick a needle in. There was just no path to peace left. The Kauravas had made war the only option. So just imagine you're Arjuna, sitting in that chariot. You look across the battlefield, and you don't see some faceless enemy. You see the entire architecture of your life. You see Bhishma, your beloved granduncle, the man who basically raised you. You see Dronacharya, your revered teacher, the one who taught you everything you know about archery. You see friends, cousins, brothers-in-law, and your heart just breaks. He tells Krishna, his charioteer, what's the point? A victory that comes from killing my own family would be a kingdom of ashes. He's terrified that by fighting, he'll become a sinner, just as bad as the greedy men he's supposed to be fighting against. And beyond that, he argues that this war would destroy the kingdom's families, leading to chaos and lawlessness, tearing apart the very fabric of society. What's so fascinating here is that Arjuna's entire argument makes perfect sense from the perspective of what we call conventional morality. This is the ethical system we all live by. It's built around consequences. We do things that we think will lead to a good outcome, and we avoid things that might lead to a bad one. Arjuna does the math, and all he sees is a terrible outcome. But here's the trap he's in. That system of honor and virtue is exactly what the Kauravas used against him and his family. They counted on the Pandavas' goodness, on their promise to keep their word, to basically disarm and defeat them. They were like moral parasites, feeding on the virtue of their opponents. Arjuna's crisis shows us the fundamental flaw in this whole system. When you're facing an enemy who couldn't care less about morality, your own morality can become a cage. It can lead to complete paralysis. It's into this moment of total moral and spiritual collapse that Krishna finally speaks. And he doesn't offer any simple condolences or easy answers. No, instead, he begins this profound discourse that's going to reframe the entire meaning of life, duty, and reality itself. He lays out 3 great paths, 3 forms of yoga, all designed to lead the soul from being trapped to being liberated. First up, Krishna introduces karma yoga, the path of selfless action. He tells Arjuna, look, Do your duty as a warrior, but give up any attachment to the results, to winning or losing. Then he explains Jnana Yoga, the path of knowledge, telling Arjuna to understand that the true self is eternal. It can't be killed or destroyed. Now, these two paths are absolutely essential. They lay all the groundwork. But for Arjuna, who is just drowning in the sea of personal grief, something more powerful, more intimate is needed. And so Krishna prepares to reveal the third and final path, the secret that sits above all other knowledge. Okay, this right here is the radical shift. It's an absolute game changer. See, conventional morality runs on the idea that a good outcome justifies the right action, right? We work hard because we want a promotion. We're kind because we want to be liked. But Krishna completely flips this formula on its head. The royal secret operates on a brand new principle. Performing the right procedure is what causes the good outcome. The focus shifts entirely away from the results, which are always uncertain and out of our control anyway, and onto the quality and the intention of the action itself. Instead of being paralyzed by the fear of a bad outcome, you are set free to act perfectly in this very moment. This is the key that's going to unlock Arjuna's chains. And this, right here, brings us to the magnificent opening of Chapter 9. Krishna says to Arjuna, "To you who are free from envy, I will now declare this most confidential knowledge, and with it, realization. Knowing this, you will be freed from all the miseries of this life. This is the Vidya Raja Guhya, the king of all knowledge, the most royal of all secrets. This is the very heart of Bhakti Yoga." So what is Bhakti Yoga, really? Well, it's the perfection of that procedural way of thinking we just talked about. It redefines right action as any action, big or small, that is done as a loving offering to a supreme ideal. You're not acting for yourself anymore, not for money, not for fame, not even for a good result. You are acting for God. And in this way of life, the good result, whether it's peace of mind or even ultimate freedom, isn't something you have to anxiously chase after. It's just the natural, effortless fragrance that comes from the flower of your devotional practice. I know, this can sound incredibly difficult, almost impossible. How can you pour your whole heart and soul into something while at the same time not caring about the result? It seems to go against our very nature. So to make this really deep concept a little more tangible, let's use an analogy that I think captures it beautifully. This illustrates Bhakti Yoga perfectly. Imagine a world-class concert pianist. Her highest ideal is perfect music. That's what she serves. So she commits herself 100% to the process, the daily, difficult hours of practice. She doesn't just practice on the days she feels inspired. She practices when she's tired, when she's frustrated, when she's sad. Her devotion is to the process, not to how she plays on any given day. She knows and she accepts that some days her playing will just be clumsy and full of mistakes. If she were attached to the outcome, those bad days would absolutely crush her. But because her devotion is to the ideal of music itself, she just keeps practicing. And after years and years of this steady, faithful process, something almost magical happens. She starts to embody the very ideal she serves. She closes her eyes and the music just flows through her. She's no longer a person playing the music. She and the music have become one. Now, in the Bhagavad Gita, the ultimate ideal that Arjuna is being asked to devote himself to is Krishna himself, who represents this principle of Ishvara, or sovereignty. And this isn't just a person, it's a concept of ultimate reality. This sovereignty has two incredible characteristics. First, it's unconservative, which means it's totally untouched by the past. It's not bound by karma or anything that happened before. And second, it's self-governing, meaning it is completely free, not held back by any outside force. So by dedicating every single action to this supreme, free, and timeless ideal, the devotee, like Arjuna, starts to take on these same qualities. They start to find freedom from the chains of their past karma and from the pressures of future outcomes. But this path of devotion isn't just some dry, philosophical exercise or a cold call to duty. No, woven right into the fabric of this teaching is a promise of deep intimacy, of grace, and of absolute protection. In what might be the most powerful and comforting verse in the entire chapter, Krishna makes this incredible promise. But he does something really interesting. He tells Arjuna, "O son of Kunti, you declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes." Think about that. By asking Arjuna to be the one to say it, Krishna is underscoring how absolutely certain it is. It's like he's saying, this promise is so unbreakable, you can stake your own honor on it. It's a promise of ultimate security in a world that is anything but certain. And this promise offers something amazing, radical redemption. Krishna goes on to say that even if a person has lived a life of the most sinful acts, if they take up this path with single-minded devotion, they have to be considered righteous, because their decision, their resolve is right. This is a direct answer to Arjuna's fear that fighting will make him a sinner. Krishna is telling him that the inner direction of the heart, that resolute turn toward the divine, is so powerful it can purify any action from the past and completely redefine who a person is. The past just loses its grip when the present is offered in devotion. So let's pull this all together. What is the real transformative power of this royal secret? How does it solve Arjuna's impossible problem and give us all a blueprint for a life of meaning, even when we're surrounded by chaos? Chapter 9 essentially gives Arjuna a new compass for his soul. When all the maps of conventional morality have led him right to a cliff's edge, Bhakti Yoga offers a path forward. A path that isn't based on shaky outcomes, but on the certainty of devotion. It frees him from his paralysis. His duty to fight is no longer some brutal act of revenge. It's transformed into a sacred, sacrificial act to restore cosmic balance, to restore Dharma. And then Krishna makes this principle universal, for all of us, for all time. He says, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, do that as an offering to me. And just like that, the most mundane, everyday parts of our lives can become moments of sacred connection. By absorbing this secret knowledge, Arjuna is being fundamentally rewired. His consciousness is being prepared for an even bigger revelation that's just around the corner. You see, Chapter 9 is the key. It's the key that unlocks a completely new way of seeing reality. It teaches him how to see the world not as a chaotic mess of painful choices, but as a living, dynamic expression of a single divine presence that is in everything. And so, this chapter leaves us, and Arjuna, standing on the edge of an even greater understanding. I mean, if every action can be an offering to the Supreme, and if this devotion can reorient our entire life, then a new question just naturally pops up. Where, specifically, can we see this divine reality? How do we actually recognize it in the world all around us? It's this very question that sets the stage perfectly for Chapter 10, where Krishna will start to answer, revealing his glorious and diverse forms, showing Arjuna how to find the divine in the light of the sun, in the power of the lion, in the wisdom of a sage, and in the heart of every single living being.
That was today's story. Please do like, share and subscribe for more such interesting stories. Let's connect with another story. Till then, stay blessed.